Hello everybody, welcome back to BSG Online number 4. We are raising money for Mind. You can find the links to donate below the stream or in the chat by !donate. Coming up next, we have a very special run. We got Snow Brothers from GhostSenpai. So take it away, good luck and have fun.
Hello everybody, and thanks Sonys for that. Sorry if I have messed it up pronouncing your name. It has been a long time since I watched theater and I'm speaking English speaking marathon, so I feel a bit nervous that this is not the game, this is just a meme from. Ignore this for a bit, we're gonna start with real action on a bit. So what I'm gonna be playing, it's a special NES game called Snow Brothers. This is basically a port from. So this is a port from a 1990 arcade game, developed and released by Topland. This port was developed by Topland, and it was released by them in Japan, and outside of Japan by Capcom. I'm playing there. So check something. We're gonna start with the run. So 3, 2. Well, I'm gonna make a countdown. I'm hoping that everything is ready right now. Let's start with a countdown. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So the first thing we're gonna be doing is something I like to call position manipulation, which basically means that. And we're used that on many video games, depending on the cycles of the RNG, the position of the enemies is defined, or whether their movement. But in this game, it's specifically different, because here, what we need is that, depending on our position, is where the enemies are gonna move. So I'm gonna be trying to move to specific spots. It's gonna be looking like if I'm randomly, but what I have done is that I have manipulated the game to get this red potion, and I was so lucky to get it twice, because this is the speed potion. This is one of the most important potions in the game. It's part of the stage 3. I need to manipulate the game, but it's a bit tricky in order to get the blue potion. If I don't get it, it's gonna be fine, and I can complete this without it. And there we go, both red and blue potions. This is the run, boys. We have started very well. And before I continue talking about the game, I need to say thank you so much for all the people who have donated for the sombrero incentive. I really like that people love the big sombrero, because not so many people knows the real secret about the sombrero. But if I use this, I'm gonna gain some special speedrunning powers, so it's very important that I use this sombrero going forward. So getting back into the game, you can see that we can get some bubble vibes, but instead of using bubble, we have a snow. We're freezing the enemies and we are throwing them through the stage. And well, that's the way that you're gonna be defeating the enemies. The other way is that simply you freeze the enemies and throw them. But at the same time, if a rolling snowball touches an enemy, that enemy is gonna fly through the stage, and once it falls down in any section of the stage, the enemy is gonna be turned into an item. And we're gonna be trying to do that on the first stages to get the red and blue potions. Fortunately, I was able to get them. There's a small chance that you cannot get them with the manipulation that I have made, but those manipulations are really easy to perform. That's not like a big problem. There are a total of 4 potions. The other potion that I'm lacking of is the yellow potion, which just increases my shooting range. It's not really important. I can complete the game in a decent amount of time without it. And some previous PVs doesn't have the yellow potion. And well, the 4th potion is the green potion. There's a little chance that we can get it on the stage 14. And there are a total of 50 stages. This is a very short game, but you can turn it by the estimate. And now we're on floor 10. It's the first boss fight. Not a big deal. I just need to hit this guy 6 times, and we're gonna be done. He's gonna be throwing some enemies, and I need to freeze those enemies and throw the snowball. Okay, this is gonna be bad. Okay, 5 hits. I messed it up a bit, but it's fine. First of all, defeated. I haven't wasted so much time. Maybe I just had lost like a second, but still being something good. It's not so bad. And now something that was included on the NES version and it's not available on any other version of this game, the gambling machine. And this is something really important to have on mind because we can lose or save time due to this. Here I have got 2 letters from the Snow World. Each letter gives me 10k points, well, 10,000 points. This wasn't like a big problem. I haven't lost so much time. So you can get a letter from the Snow World, you can get an 1-up, or you can get nothing, aka a cross. So what we try to do is that we try to get cross, because that doesn't give you points, and the less points you get, the most quicker you're going to be moved to the next stages. Now with this, on this second part of the game, these blue enemies are some kind of, we need to be aware about where do they are or what do they do, because after some time, after some seconds, they turn into a tornado. So when they are in the tornado phase, we cannot make them damage, so we need to be so careful about that, and we need to be quick in trying to defeat them. And I lied, it's on the next stage where we can see them. The green potion, let's see if I'm gonna be able to get it. Here in this case, something good about the game is that when you run it, you can make your own route, which means that not all the time you need to follow a specific pattern to defeat the enemies. And well, we haven't got the green potion, so it wasn't a big deal anyways. And well, continuing with the game, let's talk about the plot of the game and other extra mechanics. So, well, generic 80s/90s and late 80s, early 90s video games plot. On a faraway land, the evil King Scorch went to kidnap the twin princesses from a faraway land. Then the brothers Nick and Tom decided to stop him. They failed, and King Scorch put a curse to them, to both Nick and Tom, turning them into snowmen. So, in order to get rid of the curse, we need to save the princess also. And this is something good. It's good that I have got the builds, because when you defeat all the enemies in a row, you can get some builds that just give you points. They are useless, but if I can get some of them during a run, that's like swag movement. Sometimes I can make you lose or save you time. 19 stages, second boss. This is the frog. I don't know if this boss has an official name, but that's how I can. And okay, it spawned on the top. This is good because this is the fastest way to defeat this boss when it spawns on the top. Okay, it spawned on the floor. That's not bad at all. There we go. Second boss defeated. So, comparing this with the arcade release, this boss is different. Well, the entire game is kinda different, mostly due to the NES limitations. So, on the arcade version, on any other port of the game, it was supposed to get free process. That wasn't for me, but anyways. So, on any other version of the game, the boss spawns all the time on the floor, and then slowly it moves to the top of the screen. But here, due to any limitations, you need to pray in order to get a good RNG. In the past, I was thinking that if the boss appeared on the floor, that was like the best thing you can get. But after a while, I discovered the strat that I had used. Because every time that you spawn on the stage, you have a little invincibility frames window. You can notice that when your character is flashing. Another way to get that invincibility is when you throw a snowball and you let that the snowball carry you, because once you get out of it, you have also a little invincibility window. So what I have done on the second boss, because as you have seen, it was a very short boss and I haven't got so much time to talk about it, it's that when you, well, I was using that invisibility frames to be a bit safe, and I was trying to freeze some of the bombs that it throws when the stage begins. Now we have the sumo guy that I shouldn't be worried about it, because it disappears on the I defeat the rest of the enemies. It's supposed that if I go to the section where the sumo guy is and I shoot against him, he's gonna turn into a build. Just points that are useless. Every time, this is something really important. I need to try to go, this stage, I need to go all the time for the tornado guy that it's on the right, on the top right section of the screen, because if I go with the one that's in the top left, it's gonna kill me, because that tornado guy uses to throw some knives sometimes, and there's a high chance that the guy on the left throws to you as well. I got a blue potion here that just give me points because I already have this power up. So from this point, okay, I'm gonna wait a bit because we're gonna have just a little window with nothing interesting to mention. But after the third boss, we're gonna have some time for make any kind of move. So continuing with this, floor 28. This is a stage that depends a little bit about your RNG and your position. I failed with the manipulation of the enemies. I don't know why the tornado guy on the left took a good amount of time to move. Okay, this is gonna be bad because I cannot use that candy. And this is something bad about the NES version, that this doesn't happen on any other port. And it's that if there are elements on the screen, in this case if I have some items that I have defeated all the enemies, what is gonna happen is that the game is not gonna move me to the next stage until I have catched everything. So on those stages where I need some snowballs in order to reach those spots, I need to be so careful, because if the items get there, you're just gonna need to wait until the item disappears. So now third boss, I like to call this massive pace killer, because there's a high chance that he runs like here. It's supposed that I need to hit these guys 3 times, but as you have seen, I have hit that bird 3 times, and it hasn't died. I'm gonna explain on a bit what happened, and there we go! This was an excellent third boss fight! And considering that I'm this marathon, I'm really impressed about that. And well, you were wondering, okay, if I said that I just need a grip O opportunity, you can get an O here also. Something that I need to mention here is that, as you have seen, based on what I have said, you need 3 hits in order to defeat each of the birds. But I have hit the first bird 3 times and it gets alive. What happened there? Well, I don't know how the hitboxes or the damage you can do with the snowballs works very well in the game. But something that I have noticed is that mostly with the bosses, the most closer you are to a boss, and the less damage is gonna make the snowball. Or well, also depending of how far. No, sorry, my mistake. The most far away that your snowball is, the less damage you're gonna be doing to the boss. So since the snowballs that I had thrown were a bit away from the first bird, that's one reason why the third bird just received 3 hits and kept alive, and just with rock shooting side defeated the bird. This is something that I'm not the only runner that I do. The way that I have started with this stage, I have used here my invincibility frames plus the extra speed that I have in order to defeat the enemies on the middle. That's the fastest way to do it, and I'm the only runner who does that. Or other runners prefer to kill first the enemy that is on the left section of the stream. And here I'm not gonna have important stuff to mention, so if the host has any announcements to make, this is gonna be a good opportunity for you. We're gonna be having like 1.5 to 2 minutes. Any kind of announcement?
All right, cool. So yeah, I kind of forgot to mention this at the very start, but of course, thank you everybody for your donations for the sombrero. That was, as you can see, is pretty cool. We got a $10 euro anonymous donation before this run to make that incentive happen, so that's pretty cool. Talking about incentives though, the next run also has a incentive, or rather a bid war in this case. Next run is going to be Return to Castle Corded. And there's a bid war between the progression / difficulty choice. There are 3 different choices, either basic, hard, or dialogue heavy. So you in the chat can influence what you'd rather want to see. You want to see the basic run, the hard run, or the dialogue heavy run. So far, all 3 are tied. So with just a single euro, you in chat could be the deciding person to choose this. If you whatever of these 3 you want to see. So you know, the power is all yours, chat. Make a smart decision.
I was a bit scared on the... Okay, sorry. I was a bit scared on the previous stage, on stage 38, because I was close to die. And well, something I need to mention, and it's good that I got opportunity to talk on stage 39, that if you manage to reach this stage, congratulations, this is the hardest stage on the game, stage 39. Because on the middle section, as we have seen, we cannot. Okay, I'm gonna explain that after this boss because this boss fight is also short. So this is another difference comparing this with the arcade release or any other port, because in other versions we have two bosses and we cannot free these hard enemies. There are some enemies that spawn from the top of the screen and that are the ones that we freeze to throw. Again, 6 hit and we're done. And well, if you shoot to the hard enemies on any other versions, those enemies are just gonna throw into a small firewall and that's gonna be it. And yes, rip any over speed. So on stage 39, the middle section of the game is kinda tricky because in order to get outside of it, you need to use a snowball. But again, the enemies react depending on their position, and sometimes they can be a bit troll and they cannot go to the section where you are. And depending of a certain amount of times on every stage, a pumpkin ghost enemy gonna spawn and gonna try to kill you. You cannot defeat it, and it's gonna disappear just if you die. And the problem there is that, well, if that enemy appears, that's a signal that you have took a good amount of time. You're taking so much time to complete the stage, and that enemy is gonna try to chase you. After some seconds, it's gonna release some ghosts that are gonna try to chase you directly, and you need to be quicker to complete the stages. But unfortunately, on that stage, the enemies are specifically trolled. And well, in general, all the enemies are trolled depending on your position, so sometimes playing this casually can be a real nightmare. But since I have completed this game a decent amount of times, I know some of the patterns that they can get. And also, for some reason, on these last stages from 41 to 49, you have a higher chance to get some blue potions. My PB on this game, it's 18 minutes and 23 seconds. That was performed on emulator. Actually, I'm running this on an NES, and I think that my console PB is like an 18. Yeah. It has been a bit complicated for me to get a new PB on this game. Besides, I have been trying to get the world record for almost 4 years. I haven't been able to get it, but you're gonna see the reason behind that once we reach the last boss, because if you compare my actual PB with the actual world record, you're gonna notice that my actual PB saves a good amount of time compared with the world record. But the big problem that this game has is that the last boss is full floor 49, a big deal. These enemies, we haven't seen the blue potion as I was mentioning it, but it's still fun. Okay, you got one. Nice. And well, maybe this is the only easiest stage. Well, this stage is more easier than in any other port because well, this is the only fast stage, and with fast, I'm trying to mean that this boss the bubbles moves really faster, because on the other ports the bubbles are really slow, and also the roof falls down slowly. But this is not the case on the NES port, making this boss fight a little bit easier, but at the same time it keeps being annoying. Mostly because these enemies requires 10 hits each one, 10 hits with snowballs each one, in order to be defeated. And you're gonna be wondering, okay, why are you trying to get trapped into those bubbles? Well, as you can see, the bubbles can get a firewall, can get an item, or can get nothing. And again, any limitations, so that means that the most elements you have on screen, the less bubbles that are gonna spawn. On that case, one power-up was live on the top of the screen, so that was gonna mean that just 3 bubbles were gonna spawn. And I'm gonna be trying to alternate my shootings in order to try to defeat what enemies on the same case, because once you defeat one of those guys, that means that your amount of bubbles is gonna be reduced. Instead of having 4, you're gonna have 2, so your chances are gonna be reduced by 50% to get an enemy. This is the RNG factor about what are you gonna be getting. Okay, and I was so close to fall on that Fireball. Wait, I need to be careful here also, and on the part that once I get trapped into a snowball, I need to take my distance in case that Fireball is on the floor in order to see at which moment I should start to mash button. You need to mash buttons to get free of the bubbles. Okay, we got 4 elements, so we got 2 bubbles also. So yeah, basically that's a problem with this boss. That I can have a decent pace up to this point, but if the boss doesn't cooperate with me, I'm gonna lose a good amount of time. I have missed big amount of wall breaker cases due to that. That has been like my big problem for like more than 3 years. You know, the time that I have been running the game. Okay, I missed another enemy. And that's also another problem because sometimes you can get trapped in some bubble that doesn't have nothing, and sometimes there are some firewalls on the floor. So you need to be careful about the spots where you're gonna be moving on the stage in order to see where you're gonna spawn. Okay, the time's gonna finish once I defeat this guy on the right that I haven't timed correctly my shootings, and I have that. Okay, it's fine anyways. It was gonna be a deadlift run on a marathon. It's still been fine. The only problem is that I'm not gonna be having all my speed or my increased shooting. Okay, fine. Sorry, but this is another problem with the game that you don't know where you're gonna be saying time if you lose it. If you don't count correctly where you're gonna be the times that you're gonna be shooting each of those enemies. And when I died, I was thinking about a I just need a single hit in order to finish the run. Well, maybe this was a decent run for a marathon. I'm really happy.
Your time was 20:04.
Okay, that was decent.
I think it was actually 20:02 or something. I think timer was late on 1 or 2 seconds.
Let's consider it like a 20:03 because usually people in marathons and even myself used to stop the timer like a second later moment of the time comes because the time finishes on some big bosses. And also, since I haven't used any continue of the game because the game has 9 continues, we haven't locked the real ending of the game. That on the regular ending, you defeat King's Court and you rescue the princesses, and the peace goes back to the kingdom. But if you don't use any continue, you get the real ending of the game, which is that the King's Court is defeated, but brothers Nick and Tom loses the snowman curse. They save the twin princesses and they get married to them. So that's like a real happy ending, and I'm pretty happy that I was able to get this ending. It's really nice. You get this because that's a signal that you are improving your skills on the game and you are not required to use any of the continues. So, I hope you have enjoyed this shorter run. If somebody's interested into running this game, I have a guide in both English and Spanish. If you're wondering why I have a guide of this in Spanish, is because my main language is Spanish. So you can visit the leaderboard of the game on speedrun.com and you can find a guide, video guide in both English and Spanish in order to run this game. And both any person and all stages 1 player. Any percent is just like a small difference when you take an extra gamble machine to skip stages. Personally, I find that a bit boring, but the good thing is that the guy that I have made covers both categories. So if you're interested in learning the game, both videos take like 2 hours and 20 minutes each of them, depending on which language you wanna watch the guide. And also, if you have doubts about how to run the game, feel free to ask. And first of all, again, thanks to all the people who has been donating to the band. Thanks also for the people who has made that the sombrero incentive was met on the marathon. I was a bit worried because before my run started, there was just 10 euros left in order to get the incentive. So I'm pretty happy that at the last moment the incentive was met. And well, this is not my last run of the marathon. I'm gonna be running Super Mario World 11 Exit No Cave on Sunday, but that doesn't mean that the fun stuff is gonna finish here. We're still having a good amount of runs to watch on the marathon. We're gonna still having a good amount of amazing runners also that are gonna showcase their skills. So keep watching the marathon, keep tuning the marathon, and remember to donate for good cause. I was GhostSenpai, aka the Sombrero Guy, and next time.
Exactly. Hey, thank you very much for your run. And as you already mentioned, thanks everybody who made the Sombrero incentive happen. We appreciate it. It's pretty great. Yeah. So coming up next, after a short intermission, is where was it? I forgot the name. There we go. Return to Castle Cordad. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. And also, I'm leaving as a host for the moment. But yeah, thanks for having me, BSG. Yep. Quick intermission. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Enjoy the break and the music. Yeah.